We'll start off with you, Alex Rodriguez.
I just retired less than a year ago in August, and a lot of people don't know this. I've been running my business for over 18 years. It started with a small duplex down there in Biscayne, and then I bought 60 units. I thought it was all the money in the world, and I remember being in Seattle at the time, and half of my time was worrying about trying to hit Pedro Martinez. The other half was hoping that my tenants paid the rent so I can cover my monthly expense. And today we've grown that to managing over 15,000 apartment units in 12 states. We have 400 people that work for A-Rod Corp, and we've built an incredible management team, and it's taken me, kind of my 10,000 hours in the business community to do that. As of late, I've entered the media world, and it's fun, it's exciting, and it's hard. And I'm doing a little bit with Fox. I have Shark Tank, and I recently signed with GMA and Nightline. So I am busy, and I have two beautiful daughters that live here in Miami. First of all, I'm incredibly proud to be the first Hispanic shark. It's something that we talked about with the producers at ABC. It's something that they were very excited about. We contribute over $1 trillion annually to the U.S. economy. It's just a phenomenal feat. And just think about what it's going to be in 10 and 20 years. And I think in D.C. and other business communities, we should be having really smart conversation on how to double that number. Unlike Caesar and Mark, who have earning power probably till the time they're 80 years old, it's a very interesting thing that happens with athletes where you have probably 90% of your life earnings from age 20 to 30. So the question obviously is what happens from age 30 to 80. And if you realize that only less than 5% of our Major League Baseball players have a college degree, I'm not a stockbroker, but with that information alone, I would probably short the stock. We have to give our young men a vehicle that they can protect themselves against themselves. So as an entrepreneur, you always have to look around the corner. You have to be a forward thinker and think about whether Caesar's thinking about what's his competition, or Mark, what's his, our competition lives right in front of us. And digital, whoever figures that out first is going to be the winner. But I want to talk a little bit about how players are being appraised today than where they were when I first started. Players today, you have more physicists and applied mathematics guys from Harvard and Yale and Dartmouth that have never seen a baseball game, that sit in front offices making baseball decisions. So for example, if Mark was a free agent, we would say to the young man in the corner who's never seen a baseball game, what is Mark worth? We want to sign Mark. He'll say, give me 3 seconds, go into his computer. He says, let's offer Mark 5 years for $75 million. So the GM goes down and gives him $75 million. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, there's a computer, I used to say a fax, they send down the scorecard, which is the lineup is all made through algorithms. At 3 o'clock, you have coaches on their knees on the field putting tape on the field, and this is where they're supposed to play. Almost like we're playing Atari, right? With that agency, that's what we used to play. But the point I want to say is the pendulum sometimes in business and in sports and in media goes far to right, and that's called an over-adjustment. It happens in hitting, it happens as CEO and chairman as these gentlemen run their great businesses. But the one element I want to remind everybody, there's still a human element, especially in baseball. You still play 200 games in 232 days, and you need character, and you need grit, and you need toughness to be able to survive every day. And that cannot be appraised in that computer that the young man in the corner is appraising Mark for. I think my advice would be slow and steady wins the race. I sit in the advisory board and with the Yankees with Hal Steinbrenner, and I always tell Hal, you have to give our young players 2,500 at-bats, which is about 5 years, before we jump in and over-evaluate these young kids. These kids get married, they have kids, they mature. We have to be patient with them. I would say the same thing goes for a businessman. You need to acquire your 10,000 hours. And I just think about the visual of saying the power of partnership. If you have Tom Brady at 20 years old, and you have Warren Buffett at 20 years old, and you say, hey, Tom Brady saying, I'm going to throw touchdowns and win championships for a living, and the young man from Omaha with glasses says, I'm going to take that money and I'm going to invest it. And if these two guys come together with similar traits, by the way, then 1 + 1 = 3, 4, or 5. And if more players find gentlemen like this to mentor them, to partner up with them and say, hey, Caesar, if you're putting $10, do you mind if I put a dollar behind it? And by the way, can you also mentor me along the way? Can I join the board calls? And those kind of things, you need humility and you need effort and like everything else. That would be, my father left when I was 10 years old. I would not be able to survive without the Boys and Girls Club and with great mentors. I had Lou Piniella, I had Ken Griffey Jr., I had guys like Joe Torre, and in the business world, I've had Warren Buffett, Barry Sternlit, Mark Mastroff. I've had some incredible partners that I call every day or weekly for advice. You know this. So Warren Buffett and I have been in business for over 17 years. In the year 2000, I signed with the Texas Rangers and Tom Hicks. We needed the last part of my contract to be insured. So in very Warren Buffett-like form, he said, I will insure it. If you send $4 million before 11 o'clock in the morning, I will insure that money. And it was the last piece of it on a 10-year deal, which is obviously the most expensive one. So Thomas O. Hicks sends the money, he insures me. I get wind of this like 2 years later, and I find out that Warren Buffett has an insurance on me. So I cold called his office, Debbie, who's still his assistant, has been his assistant forever, and I said, hey, I'm in business with Warren Buffett. Do you mind if I have a call with him or something? And literally, they returned my email like 2 days later and said, hey, what doesn't he come up and spend a day with me in Omaha? And I ended up doing that like 5 or 6 years in a row and had some great times with him.